everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Moment podcast. My name is Regine Bowe, and I am a social worker who wants to give you hope, encourage you, and help you feel less alone in your healing journey. This podcast is dedicated to helping you heal, learn, and grow to become a better version of yourself. Through education and personal experience, I will discuss topics around mental health and spirituality. So, let's get started on today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Breaking Moment podcast. I am your host, Regine Bowe, and welcome. I don't know about you guys, but it's March 13th and it's lighter outside. It's nice weather. I just feel good about it. And I don't feel good about the losing an hour of sleep though, I wonder if you're going through the same thing. Like this week has just been so hard to get up because my body's like, no, I'm supposed to have an hour of sleep, but I don't. But in return, we gain the hour of it not being so dark, which is nice to get out and it's still light, and just the warm weather. Like, I don't know if we have anybody that is a fan of like the springtime and the warmer weather, but it's something about sometimes just being in nature that is just like, whew. So I just had to just share that because I don't know. I just think we're moving to a new season of warmth, of things blossoming, of just the new. So maybe our seasons are changing externally around us, maybe we are internally changing into a new season of maybe a new job, of maybe going to school, a new season of new beginnings for you. So today we are going to talk about the power of choice in our lives. And I wanted to talk about this because I don't know, I was sleeping and then I woke up one day and I just felt like choice. You have a choice. You have a choice in your life. You have a choice in what you want to do. You have a choice in who you become. You have a choice in what you give energy to. You have a choice in your life. And I think, me included, sometimes I get stuck in the mistakes I've made. I get stuck in the doubts. I get stuck in my thoughts. I get stuck in just things that I think define me, but they don't. And then I realized that, wait, I have a choice. You can choose to stay where you are. You can choose to move. You can choose to grow. You can choose to go to a new job. You can choose who you give energy to. I just think there's someone out there, including myself, that just feels like they don't have a choice. Because you were brought up a certain way, you don't have a choice in what you want to do, but you do. No matter if you grew up in poverty, no matter if you grew up in an abusive home, no matter if you grew up in a family where no one went to school, even if you grew up where you didn't feel like you were good enough, you have a choice in your life now and where it goes. And I think we just get stuck in so much of what, we've done and all the times we messed up. But it's like, wait, I have a choice in how this goes. And I think it's just powerful to know that choice does have weight because we do have a choice. And I just think, I remember hearing a podcast. It was either a podcast or maybe it was with my therapist. I don't remember. But I remember them saying you have a choice. And it's like, wait, so I have a choice. I just think just hearing that is powerful. I don't you have a choice. You were born in this world and there's things that you can't control, right? There's, maybe you couldn't control your situation that you grew up in, but you have a choice in where you go now. You just have a choice. You have a choice in where you go. You have a choice. When you wake up, you could say to yourself, I have a choice. I have a choice in how I want this day to go. I have a choice in the energy I give to certain things today. I have a choice in if I want to believe that or not. And that's going to dictate so much of your day, your life, that moment, just everything. I just think the power of choice, the power of choices, decisions in our lives are powerful. And I want to empower us to realize that you do have a choice, no matter what you have been through, no matter what mistake you think you've done that you will never be forgiven, or you are stuck there, no matter how you were brought up, no matter what, like you really have a choice in what you do in your life. So today we're going to talk about what it means to make a choice. We're going to talk about how choices affect our lives. We're going to talk about how we can make good choices, and we're going to talk about what God says about this topic in the Bible. So, some of you guys might have said things to yourself like, oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. I don't know why I made that decision. Or if this didn't happen to me, then I would be happy. If I didn't live like this, then I would be happy. Or this and that. Like the list can go on of some of the things we might say to ourselves, right? And that could lead to you thinking you don't have a choice because, oh my gosh, I grew up with no money. My parents didn't have money. This is an example. Your parents didn't have money. Now I'm going to be living in poverty too. Nope. That does not have to happen at all, because you can have a choice to make better decisions, to learn from your mistakes or learn from your parents' mistakes and make a choice and do better, right? So according to Oxford Languages, a choice is defined as an act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. So boom, you have a choice to turn in the assignment or sit back and do nothing and then watch your grade slowly drop, which then can affect how you feel about yourself. You know, if your grades drop, you might think you're inadequate, right? If your grades drop, you might fail out of that class. And if you fail out that class, then how can you get closer to your goal? Like every choice, even little choices like turning in work, can have weight on what you want to become in life. The choice of being disciplined or not. Okay, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to do this. I'm going to wake up whenever I want. I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm not going to have a disciplined mind. I'm not going to set time for certain things and make sure that I don't just do whatever. Because if you do go the way of not being disciplined, it might lead you to, being with a certain crowd you're not supposed to be with. It might lead you to, if you think about it, if you're not disciplined when you eat, it could lead you to become overweight, different things like that. Simple choice as what you're going to wear today. I mean, do you wear something where it's super cute? Okay, boom. I just thought of something, especially when in college, when you're going out. And I remember, don't judge, but I remember it would be like 0 degrees, whatever, 20 degrees. And me and my friends were still going to go out and have a good time, right? So I had the option to wear something that is comfortable, warm, right? And then I had the option to wear something that's probably cute and probably not for the weather. So I was maybe the skirt or the t-shirt in 20-degree weather. But I suffered and usually chose the cute thing because it was cute. And then that choice led me to regret the choice when I go outside and it's freezing cold. You're waiting for your Uber for 30 minutes and you're frozen, and then you're mad because you're frozen, and then it kind of leads into you not having a good time because you were cold and like I'm getting off track. But something as simple as choosing what you wear can affect your day. So that affected my night because now I was annoyed that I was so cold, and that might have affected how I interacted with other people, because now I got an attitude because I didn't dress warm and they dressing warm, and then I'm taking it out on them. But choices do have weight. So according to the Oxford Languages, it's an act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. So how do choices affect our lives? I'm sure you guys are like, duh, I know, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. A choice, a decision, whatever we make, it determines our path. The choice of going to school or not going to school. Okay, say you say I want to become a doctor. How can you get to become a doctor if you don't show up at your classes, if you make that choice and not go to class, or you make that choice and not turn in your work? How can you get to that goal? So it determines our path. Which way are we going to go in life? Are we going to go that way where we want to become that doctor? Or are we just going to sit and do nothing, or go a different path and maybe we want to go somewhere else and become a social worker? I don't know. But still, it determines our path. It affects how we interact with others and ourselves. It determines where we live. It determines where we work, our personal growth. And it just affects our overall well-being, our health, our mental health, our spiritual well-being, our emotional health. It affects everything, our choices. It just influences every aspect of our lives. Like if you have a goal, how can you get to that goal? It doesn't just like we snap our fingers and we get to that goal. No, we have to make a plan. We have to make choices to get there. I just used the example of that. Okay, I'll give it an example of becoming a social worker, right? So I didn't originally want to become a social worker, but I ended up going to school for nursing. So I made that choice. I got to school. One of my classes involved a social worker professor coming in and just talking to my class, which led me to, okay, I want to become a social worker. So what do I have to do? So then I had to make different choices. I had to go to my advisor and change my classes. I had to learn about social work because I only knew about nursing stuff. And I had to consciously make that decision and make the choices to get to that path. And that's how I got there. It didn't just, I woke up and said, I'm going to be a social worker. Like, no, I had to brainstorm and figure out and make the right steps to get there. So, how to make good choices? You have to become aware of your thoughts. You got to become aware of your choices. So, I'm going to actually, I have 8 steps on how we can make good choices. And there's no order. It's just, I'm throwing them out there how I think it'll help us make better choices. And the first one, becoming aware. I always talk about becoming aware on most things that we want to fix, because if it's not in your mind to fix it or to do better, it won't happen because you're not aware of it. It's not something you're thinking about consciously to want to fix. So if we become aware of our thoughts and our choices, what are we observing? And I want to share with us the cognitive triangle. The cognitive triangle is a type of CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, that therapists use to help people become aware of their thoughts and learn how thoughts, feelings, and actions kind of affect each other, because they do. So I want us to picture a triangle. Even you can make it with your hand, make an L with your right hand, make an L with your left hand, and put it together. So at that top of that triangle, where your pointer fingers meet, that's where your thoughts are. And then maybe the right corner or left corner, whatever one you want to go, is your feelings. And then the other corner is your actions. So if we picture this triangle, the top of it is our thoughts. So boom, I'm going to give us an example. So say we have a situation. Your friend, Rebecca, is not talking to you. That's the situation. So then your thought could be, oh, she's mad at me. Then your feelings might be angry or mad because she's mad at you. And your actions might, based off your thoughts and feelings, might be to ignore her or to be mean to her because you think she's mad at you. But same situation, but how about she's not talking to you? So then what if your thought is, maybe something's wrong? So then your feeling might be concern. You're concerned for your friend, and then your actions might be, let me go check on her and ask her if she's okay. So just that quick, the way we think about a thing, a situation, can change how we feel and our actions. We have to become aware of our thoughts because our thoughts influence our choices. That's why it's important to not believe every thought you think. Because if you believe every thought you think, then your choices are going to be all over the place. If we believe everything that comes out someone's mouth, our choices and what we do is going to be all over the place. Because everyone is going to have their 2 cents about things. And our brains are just naturally there to think. And we're going to think things that are like, what? Why am I thinking that? Or sometimes we think things that we hear. If you're in a home and all you kept hearing was, you're not going to be good enough, or you're weird, you're this, you're too much, then you internalize that. I am too much. I'm weird. I'm this. So that's going to influence what choices you make in life. That's going to influence if you go for the job or not, because you might go for it and then you remember, oh yeah, I'm really not. I'm too much. I'm not good enough for that. So your choice might be, I'll just stick to where I'm at. I'm not going to take the promotion because I'm not good enough. And that's something that you guys can look up to if you want to know more about the cognitive triangle. Like I said, that's a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that part of CBT that some therapists use. It helps people become aware of their thinking patterns and understand how thinking, feelings, and actions are connected. Another way to help us make good choices is journaling. I'm always an advocate of journaling because sometimes so many things happen in our brain that we don't realize, or that we do realize, but it's just too much. And sometimes we just got to get it on paper and read it to ourselves and reflect on it and understand, like, okay, okay, I made that decision or that choice when I was going through this, and this is because of that. It just kind of helps us connect the pieces. And then based off what we learn about that, we can determine and make a choice in what way we want to go from there. Another way we can make good choices is focusing on things in our control versus out of our control. What are some things in our control? I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. Okay, I'm going to share some with you. So keep the ones you have in your mind. I'm sure they were great. So actually, I want to start off with things that aren't in our control. So I want you to think about what is not in your control. Okay, but here's a couple. So things that are not in your control. People. People are not in your control. People are not in your control. I repeated that because I think so much of our lives, we want to fit in. We want them to like us. We want them to think we're a good person. But you cannot control that. You can't control if someone thinks you're a good person. You can't control if someone likes you or doesn't like you. I think that's a big one for a lot of people, including myself. People is something that people are not in your control. So what they think about you, what they say about you, if they like you, if they don't like you, if they love you, if they like you the way you like them, none of your control. That's not in your control at all. How they treat you is not even in your control. The weather's not in your control, right? We got this beautiful 70-degree weather. If I could hold that in my pocket and keep it 365 days of the year, okay, maybe not. I would say maybe 360 because every once in a while it's cool to see a little bit of snow and sometimes feel that cool breeze, but I would keep it 360 days. But I can't control the weather. Time. Say there's a specific time I'll give you an example. If I could somehow shorten morning time, I would, because that is when I'm the most anxious. Mornings are so hard for me because my cortisol level is high and my anxiety is always the highest in the morning time. But I can't control the time. We can't control death, we can't control the future, and we can't control the past. And you might say, because sometimes when we focus on what we can't control, it makes us feel overwhelmed of like, what do we have control over? But just wait, I got you. Because we do have control over more things than you think. So yes, while we can't control people, we can control our boundaries. We can control what we put in place to protect us. So if someone's like always putting pressure on you, someone is always talking to you any type of way, cussing at you and doing things, and you don't like that, no, you can't shut their mouth up. Well, you could try. I hope you wouldn't, because then what's the point? Or you could put the boundary up like, you know what? I don't want this energy in my life, so I'm going to limit how much time I talk to you. Or I don't want you in my life, so keep it pushing. Like, people that don't contribute to your happiness or benefit you in any way, they don't have to be in your life. You know that? Like, you have a choice. And I'm saying that because that's something I had to realize in my life. Like, I thought when people get in your life, everyone's supposed to stay. And the truth is, everyone isn't going to stay because everyone is not designed on your path. And sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's easy. But most of the time it's hard. Well, at least for me it is. And I can control that. I can control who I allow in my life. So I can control that boundary. Like, sorry, this isn't going to work. And it might hurt to say it, but at the end of the day, you're protecting your peace. You're protecting your heart. You're protecting you as a person. But the main thing is you are in control of your boundaries and what you set in place and who you allow in. You're in control of what you believe. Just because you grew up and you were told these things and they like constantly are in your mind about who you're not and what you've done wrong and what mistakes you made, you still can choose what you believe. If you really believe in God or believe in God's word or you believe in different things like that, you can choose to focus on that instead of the negativity. And by all means, it's not easy because guess what? It's a continuous thing. It's something that I have to do every single day. Every single day I get up, I have to make a decision. I have to make a choice in what I believe. Because every day I am reminded of the past. I am reminded of what I did wrong. I am reminded of the things that I was insecure about. But I make a choice in saying, you know what? Yeah, those things happen. Or yeah, I believed it, but look where I am now. I believe that I am here for a reason. I believe I'm here for a reason. I believe that what I'm doing is enough. And you have to just focus on that. You can control what you believe. You can control what you say to others. Not what they say to you, but how you say it to others. You control how you treat yourself and others. You control how you respond to situations or people. You control your effort. You control your attitude. You control your boundaries. You control how you speak to yourself. So, I told you some things you can control, some things you can't control. And how's that tie in the choices? Easy. If you are always focused on things that aren't in your control, like people, you might not be making the best choices because you are constantly people pleasing. Your choice of getting up and saying yes, 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 making the decision to say yes, 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 because you are maybe surrounded by people that are not benefiting you, not filling up your cup, and you have to do all the work instead of focusing on what's in your control, meaning you get up and do your best. And if those people leave, then those people leave because you're a human being and you can only do so much. You aren't Superwoman or Superman. Like, you can only do so much, okay? If you are constantly focusing on things like the past. Oh, but I did that really bad thing when I was like 10. I remember when I did that. Oh man, I shouldn't have said that. Oh my gosh, I did this at 15. How can I get this job now? How can I do this? How can I be a mom when I messed up? If you're constantly focused on the past, which is out of your control, that's going to affect what you choose now. That's going to affect how you show up as that mom. It's going to affect how you represent yourself now. That's going to affect if you make the choice to take the promotion, if you make the choice and finally move out of poverty. You have to focus on what you can control. In that moment, in that time, okay, the past happened, but look where I am now. Look how I've learned from the past. So I can control right now my efforts to my present moment. Right now, I can control how I respond to how I treat myself, how I speak to myself. So focus on things that you can control. And sometimes you got to write it out. Sometimes I'll literally write out, what's in my control in this situation? Okay, here's my situation. What's in my control? What's not my control? Okay, I'm going to put all my energy to things I can control. And that's going to affect the choices you make. And we might not be able to control how it ends up, the overall outcome, but we can control our effort in it and the things that we do. Another way that we can make better decisions is looking at the pros and cons. Pros and cons. Well, if this decision hurts my family, hurts me, hurts my friends, but then that's the cons, and then the pros is, okay, but I get more money. You know what I mean? Like, really weighing out a situation before you make these difficult, decisions and choices. What's the pros and cons? Or you can look at what's right and wrong. That's another thing. What's right in this situation? What's wrong? Another way we can make better decisions is self-affirmation. Sometimes we have to empower ourselves in even in areas as some might say simple as making choices, because some people might have constantly made bad decision after 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 bad decision after, the list can go on. And they might need a little bit of empowerment. They need to empower themselves and their ability to make decisions and their ability to trust themselves to make decisions and just to trust themselves in general. So maybe saying things like, I have a choice. Just saying that. I want you to say it if you can. You might be at work listening to this, but I have a choice. I have a choice. I have a choice in how my life goes. I have a choice in how I respond to others, to myself, to the world around me. I trust myself. I want you to say, I trust myself. I trust myself to make good decisions and choices. And sometimes we might say things, and right now we don't believe it, but the more we say it and the more we and the more we back it up with evidence, like, okay, you might be saying, okay, I have a choice, and you might not believe it, but then maybe refer back to a time where you did have a choice to make a decision. Or, okay, I trust myself to make good choices, but the last 5 days you haven't. Okay, let's reflect back on that one time you did. It's just constantly proving to yourself that, okay, even though I did mess up, hold on. There's times where I have made good choices. There's times where I did do the right thing. I'm not out to always make bad decisions and choices here, So sometimes just empowering yourself. What are some affirmations that you can say to empower you and to make better decisions and choices. Because a lot of it, I think, has to do with, our self-esteem and how we feel about ourselves. If we keep constantly in this negative pattern of bad decisions we make, how do we feel about ourselves? Do we feel like we're nothing? Are we doing that because we are feeling like we are imposters, because we are feeling like we are not smart enough? Those are things that we have to ask ourselves and figure out. But affirmations in those areas that you don't feel, empowered or good enough, even if it's your decisions. You can do affirmations specifically for that. So another way that we can make better decisions, I just kind of mentioned this, reflect on our past decisions. Look for patterns. So that might help with journaling. If you keep noticing a pattern, like, I keep going to jobs where I burn out easily. Or I keep picking these type of people in a relationship. What is my background? Why am I keep choosing these same type of guys or same type of girls? Or every time I am halfway through a semester, I always start to do this, and then my grades drop, and then I have to do so much to get my grade up. Those are just examples, but look for patterns. Reflect on your past decisions, even if they're bad. What can you learn from it? What are mistakes you can learn from? This is something that I have to keep reminding myself, is like, mistakes aren't there to be a life sentence. Like, oh my gosh, I did this wrong. Now I'm a bad person. Or, oh my gosh, I did this wrong and now I'll never be the person I want to be. Like, no, like, mistakes are to learn from. Like, think about anyone in this world who hasn't made a mistake. I don't even care. Like, think about a celebrity if you want. Think about someone that you look up to. They all made mistakes, because mistakes are how you learn. If I didn't make the mistake of constantly being a people pleaser and always giving to others before I gave to myself, and always never having time for me, then I would have never been here, been a family-based therapist, been as a podcast host sharing these things with other people who might need to hear it. I would have never went and looked for ways to connect with myself and go on dates with myself and go to the beach with myself and different things like that. Like, mistakes help us learn, and then you never know what you learn will help you to where you're going to be. And so sometimes, even when we do make bad choices, maybe that choice in that moment is the best you could do with what you knew, right? What you knew was this, and you made a decision based off that. And maybe that was the best you could do in that moment. And now looking back, you might beat yourself up, but really you can look back and say, wow, I did the best I could. And now, based off that decision and that choice, now make this decision, right? Like, okay, I learned from my mistake, or I learned from that moment. Now here I am, and I'm going to do this. And who knows where that's going to take you in life, in the path that's going to take you. And lastly, on how we can make better choices in our lives, I want us to remind ourselves of all the good decisions you made. Somewhere, some way, you made a good decision. Even if you decided, if you're struggling with depression and you got up today, that's a good decision, right? But sometimes the other choice might be to stay in bed because it's just hard, right? Like, sometimes it's just hard to get up. It's hard to get motivated. It's hard to have hope and faith. But today, I got up out of bed and, I reached out to someone I didn't reach out to in a while. Okay, that's a good decision, right? That's a decision that is going to benefit you, because now you see your strength. Like, oh, wow, I was in bed for 4 days and I didn't get up, or whatever the case may be. But today I got up. I'm getting stronger every day. I'm learning how to overcome this depression or this difficulty. So lastly, I want to tie in a Bible verse, because I just think it helps us to tie everything in. I'm here telling you have a choice, and you might not believe me. So, in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, and I'm reading from the NIV version, it says, "This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live." That's it. I'm only reading that part. I'm not reading a lot, because I think that speaks for itself. God is telling us, God gives us free will, right? So God is not going to make you choose life. You know, God is not going to choose to make you get out of bed or make you do this or that. He's giving you the choice. He says, choose life. He's saying choose life because choosing life, choosing the life with God, choosing to focus on your blessings, choosing those things is going to be beneficial in life. Is all about what life is about. God doesn't want us to be depressed and upset and frustrated. Yes, those things will happen to us because that's part of life, but he doesn't want us to stay there, right? He wants us to be able to overcome it. He wants us to see the obstacle and not let it affect us to the point where we give up. He wants us to see the obstacle and say, you know what? Through this obstacle, I choose to overcome it by this. I'm going to overcome it by that. And then you're going to look back at that moment and say, wow, look what I've overcome. Look what God helped me get through. And then when another obstacle comes, that's like your proof. That's like your source of looking back and saying, wow, hold on a minute. A year ago, I went through this one thing and I didn't think I'd make it. And look what I did because I chose to follow God. I chose life. I chose to say no when I needed to. And look where I am today. This verse just says a lot. And I think like all this ties together because God wants us to know, and I want you to know that you have a choice. You have free will. No one's going to force you to do anything. Like, it's your life. And at the end of the day, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. Because some days you just want to lay in bed. Some days you just want to give up because it's like, I've done all I could do. Some days it feels like what you're doing is not good enough. Some days it feels like all that you went through, everything, the childhood, the hurts, the heartbreaks, everything is going to keep you stuck there. And that's the life you're going to live. But no, you have a choice in how it affects you. You have a choice in how you respond to that moment. Do I stay here and allow that breakup or that failing that test or that dropping out of school to determine my life? Or do I figure out, what can I do now? How can I heal? How can I go to the next thing? Okay, I have this idea. How can I get there? What choices do you need to make? Sometimes it's going to require saying no. Sometimes it's going to require, spending time with yourself to figure out what you need to do next. Sometimes it's going to require, leaving certain friends, making those hard decisions. But you do have a choice. You do. And in closing, before I close, there's this quote from psychologytoday.com that I wanted to read. It says, it's about looking at your opportunities and choosing from them. No matter how limiting your opportunities may be, we always have a choice. And in closing, I want you to remember that you have a choice. You do. You have a choice in the energy you put in. You have a choice in, learning from your mistakes. You have a choice in what you believe and what you become. You have a choice. Don't let your past define you. Don't let how you grew up define you. Don't let your mistakes define you. We are all humans. We've all made mistakes. We've all done things that we aren't proud of. We've all thought things that we don't like, or we're humans. We're going to make mistakes. We've all been through those times where we don't know, are we good enough? That tough moment seems like it's defining you, but you have a choice. There's power in your choices. So guys, I hope you have a good rest of your week, a good rest of your day. I hope you are enjoying this warm weather wherever you are in the world. I love you all, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Break-In Moment podcast. If this information was helpful, please share it with others. And if you enjoy listening, subscribe to the podcast so you can get the latest episodes. You can listen to the Break-In Moment podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.